Hello, kind folks. What up? It's your boy, rather grown-ass man, Ralph Anthony Garcia, and I'm about to do the Ralph Reads Raw thing. So welcome to Ralph Reads Raw. You excuse me. This is supposed to happen this way. We're going to have it this way because people insist on playing games. That's cool. While we fight the technical difficulties and the elements outside and God knows what else. Hopefully not the damn neighbors downstairs who be bugging out. Planes, trains, automobiles, that sort of thing. But anyways, this is Ralph Reads Raw, and it's as raw as it gets. Today, we're gonna read Carlito's Way. Boils with raw energy, smart, funny, and streetwise, says Newsweek. So let's give us a shot. Let's do this real quick. But before we do that, as a matter of fact, I gotta say what's up to folks real quick. I gotta do that. My bad, y'all. This is customary on Ralph Reads Raw that I read off the executive producers who are in charge. All right, let's go. Alasia Ross, Trey Noel, K, Ray Diamonds Media, Brianna Blanchard, Darius Ledbetter, Bruce Sims, Miller Gage, Millicent Gage, my apologies, Tamika Lucy, Clay Deskin, Keishonda Riley, Drake up next. Goodness. Karen. And that's another thing I got a problem with YouTube about. Every time I scroll down, it seems to stop when I let it, but then it goes right back to the top without any control from me. It's crazy. YouTube, come on, baby. Get your stuff together. Clay Deskin, Keyshawn Riley. Drake up next, Karen, James Chopin, D'Antonio Lewis, Locoist, Annika Evans, K. Marie Billingsley, JB, J. Bobo, Goose Jack, Sherelle 5150, Gabriella Dickey, Newly OG Birdman, Corey Peterson, Nana James, Marlo, Hello Kalina, I see ya, Marlo D, Lady Rain 808, The Fourth Horseman, Andre McNeil, Mr. T, Heaven Keep, Clarence Hale, Keith Woods. The train want to say what's up too. Jeez. Marvin Kuntz, BLE007, Sharon Myers, Julia Fisher, Rio Bomar Harris, Nia, C-Madge, Say K, Danielle Cunningham, D. Eagle Calloway, Maya Jackson, Lanasia Cornish, Supreme Goddess Nikki, Queen, Team Money, Dizzy, Damian Irving, Lost Roads, Seas All the Time, Tawidi, Tequila Green, Mr. Light, Desjuan Manuel, Desmond Thomas, Dario Carrington, Marcus Valentine, Kyla Easler and the Easler family, Michael Woodford, Aunt 10, Calm Tama, Mr. Fulltime, and Ja Logic and Friends. So what up? What's good? Yay. Hello. So what's good? Anyway, let's go. Let's read. I wish these trains would shut up, but we gotta fight them. I'll wait till that passes. Apparently this is train moaning and groaning. Y'all hear it. So we read Carlito's Way. Now this is by Edwin Torres, who's now a judge, believe it or not. God, Lord. Okay. 1, 2. Carlito's Way by Edwin Torres. To the memory of Orlando Cardona, the best of the 107th Street Bunch, killed in action, February 4th, 1951, Wonju, Korea. Sooner or later, the thug will tell his tale. We all want to go on record, so let's hear it for all the hoods. The Jews out of Brownsville, the Jews out of Brownsville. Another train's passing by. We got to put up with that, folks. But that's all right. I'm going to keep it nice and smooth just like this. Damn it, man. Hurry up, please. Oh, I'm going to need a blunt after this. There it goes. Moving ever so slowly, too. But after 2 o'clock, we can look forward to no more trains. Here we go. So let's hear for all the hoods. The Jews out of Brownsville, the blacks on Lenox Avenue, the Italians from Mulberry Street, like that. Meanwhile, the Puerto Ricans been getting jammed since the 40s, and ain't nobody said nothing. We've been laid, relayed, and waylaid, and nobody wants to hear about it. Well, I'm gonna lay it on you one time for the record. Who these people? Puerto Ricans. They come from an island 100 long by 35 miles wide. They come in all sizes, colors, and shapes. They got a little bit of everybody. Heart like the Jews, soul like the blacks, balls like the Italians. They hit New York in the 1940s, the wrong time. But like, when is it right? When your face don't help, your accent ain't French, and your clothes don't fit. They hung in anyway. Most of the tickets were one way, so they filed into the road stables in Harlem and the South Bronx. They sat behind the sewing machines and stood behind the steam tables. In other words, they busted their ass. They went for the dream. Most of them. A handful couldn't handle the weight at the bottom of the totem pole. They wouldn't squat, couldn't bend. Had to take the shot. Them was the jodedores, hoodlums, hard-nosed. And like the thugs from any group, they went for the coin. of the realm head on. I'm talking from the I'm talking from the far shore, looking back on 30 years. At least I made it to the other side. Most of my crew got washed on the way, and if survivors don't talk about it, who's gonna know we was here, right? So here's how it went down. For one PR, me, Carlito Brigante. Now, what I wanted to do originally is go to the glossary. So let's go there real quick. Glossary. Abusador, a bully. Agarra, reach. Draw your gun. Aguarda, hold on. B&E, break-in entry. Bacalao, codfish. Beater, a swindler. Blow away, blow up, shoot dead. Hoyo loco. No, bollo loco, a crazy broad. Boosting, shoplifting. Buena gente, good people. Bulls, cops. Busted, arrested. Button, another word for made guy. When a mob associate is elevated to membership, he is referred to as a button, as in he's got a button. While on that fringe of membership, he can be referred to as a half a button. Cabrón, cuckold, a guy whose woman is cheating on him. Caer pesado, to lay heavy, to be a drag. Camarones, police. Camarón is the Spanish word for shrimp. Candy, cocaine. Cap, bullet. Chiva, stool pigeon. Chibs, buttocks. Clique, crew or gang. Clique. There goes another train. Okay, that's an uptown train this time. Coglione, balls. Coglione, balls, Italian. Cojones, balls, Spanish. Como los huevos de perro, like the balls on a dog. Connected, part of a gang, protected. Contract. 1, murder assignment. 2, a case in court which is fixed. Cornudo, cuckold in Italian. Cornuto, that's how it's pronounced. Cornuto, cuckold in Italian. Cowboy, to shoot or kill spontaneously without proper planning. A reckless guy having no discipline. Cubiche, Cuban. Delinquente, a hoodlum. Doing a deuce, doing 2 years in prison. Down cat, a good guy. Down cat, a good guy. Damn it. And there goes another train. Droguero, a drug peddler. Echa pa'lante, to move forward. From expression, echar para adelante, which means to go forward. El que no, el que no la tiene del Congo, la tiene de Carabali. If you're not from one African tribe, you're from another. El echao pa'lante, the boldest. He who goes first, no, he who goes forward. Embalao, like a bullet, from Spanish word bala, meaning bullet. Espera, wait. Fenomeno, phenomenon. Figlio de putana, son of a whore, Italian. Flake, to frame. Gallego, native of Galicia, Spain. Garage, he's from another garage. He's from another world. Guido, Gideon versus Wainwright, 1963. United States Supreme Court decision requiring that defendants have legal counsel at all stages of criminal proceedings. Ginzo, Italian. Get go, the beginning. Give up, to squeal, to inform. Glom, to steal. Gorilla, to intimidate, bully, push around. Guy, boss, Italian. Thing is, I can't even edit these the way I want to, like take out these parts. Not anymore. Another problem YouTube has put upon us, but hey, we better get used to it, right? Hatton Rondo, a bit player in the movies, known for playing ugly brutes, e.g. the Creeper in Sherlock Holmes films. Heavy hitter, boss, person of authority, one who carries a lot of weight. Hermano, brother, blood brother. Hijo de puta, son of a whore. Hit, a kill, to kill. Hit the bricks, to come out of jail. Jodedor, hoodlum, phonetic spelling of Spanish idiomatic expression. Jodedor, an extension of the verb joder, which means to foul up or mess up. Hombría, manhood. Ice, to kill. Jackpot, trouble. Jeva, girl. Jíbaro, Puerto Rican hillbilly, dude. Joint, a marijuana cigarette. Joint, the jail. Joint, the jail. Well, joint or the joint, jail. Jump stink, to fight. Juntos, pero no revueltos. Together, but not scrambled, as in eggs. This expression is used to denote a relationship of alliance or association without loss of individual identity or freedom of action. Key, kilograms, 2.2 pounds. Kicks, shoes, large, 1,000. Later for, as in later for Snipe, he's dead. That's the end of him. Le comes el cerebro. You eat his brains. To outsmart, to outfox. Legate, to act as peeping Tom. Legate. Legate, to act as peeping Tom, from Spanish slang expression, ligando. Made guy, initiated mafioso. After years of association with the mob or syndicate, a candidate will be sponsored for membership. He must be of Italian descent. The initiation rites include having made his bones, which usually entails an assassination. Once his worth is established to the satisfaction of his sponsor and the presiding bosses, the candidate is made. Therefore, he is a made guy with all the attendant privileges. Maldito sea la madre, a curse on your mother. Map case. Map versus Ohio, 1961, United States Supreme Court decision that required all straight prosecutions to exclude illegally obtained evidence. Illegally obtained evidence. Maricón, faggot, homosexual. Matón, killer. Me cago en tu madre, I shit on your mother. Miranda versus Arizona. Miranda or Miranda. Miranda versus Arizona, 1966, United States Supreme Court decision requiring that an arrested person be warned prior to any questioning that he has the right to remain silent, that anything he says can be used against him in the court of law, that he has the right to the presence of an attorney, and that if he cannot afford an attorney, one will be appointed for him prior to any questioning if he so desires. One will be appointed for him prior to any questioning if he so desires. Mope. Stupid person. Mopery is stupidity. Mollete, a Negro. A Nietzsche, a Negro. OC, organized crime. OC, organized crime. OC, organized crime. Damn it. Gotta wait a minute. Sounds like Wakiki bugs. You're welcome to look that up. OC, organized crime. P&D, premeditated and deliberated murder. Paint, narcotics. Word paint used as verbal camouflage. Paredón, the wall used by the firing squad as in Castro executions. Partner. Pero no hay mal que bien no traiga. Pero no hay mal que bien no traiga. There is no ill wind that does not bring some good. Pinch, arrest. Plátanos, plantains, a banana-like fruit grown in tropical zones. Popped, arrested. Pound, a 5-year jail sentence. Puñeta, jerk off. ¿Qué pasa? What's happening? What's going on? Rabbi, protector, guardian angel. Rubia, blonde girl. Sálvese si que pueda. Save yourself if you can. Shoe fly, police internal investigators. Cops spying on corrupt cops. Short, a short is any automobile from a Maserati to an old Chevy. Short timing, serving a short timing, serving a short jail sentence. Sicilian, there goes my tongue. Sicilian, smack, heroin, aka horse, skag, junk, shit, stuff, snort, cocaine, spike, hypodermic needle used to inject heroin, spitter, hoodlum, aka wise guy, knockaround guy, spook, a Negro, stand-up guy, a man of integrity, one who would never inform on another, stone killer, 1, cold-blooded assassin, 2, superlative, as in, that's a stone killer soup. Tecato, heroin addict, from Spanish slang word for heroin, tecata. Tiger, a Puerto Rican newcomer to the U.S. term originated from a ship, the Marine Tiger, which brought many Puerto Ricans to the U.S. Thou, 1,000. Todos los gatos son negros. All cats are black. Tremendos pollos. Good-looking girls. Tremendous chicks. Trim, slang word for female sex organs, as in, get me some trim, some good trim. Tumbe, a swindle, a beat, taken from Spanish verb tumbar, to knock down. 283034, 28th, 30th, and 34th precincts in Manhattan. Un clavo saca otro. One nail removes another. Uomo di onore, a man of honor, Italian. Upstate, prison. Vamos andando, let's go. Vamos a echar un pie, to flee, to shake a foot. Verdugo, executioner. Guayo, Italian. Wash, to kill. Wise guy. Hoodlum, yard, $100. Go for yard means to cost $100. Chapter 1. I came on the scene in the 1930s. Me and my moms. Brigante Senior had long since split back to Puerto Rico. Seemed like we was in every furnished room in Spanish Harlem. Kind of hazy, some of it now, but I can remember her dragging me by the hand from place to place. The clinic on 106th Street, the home relief on 105th Street, the Pentecostal church on 107th Street. That was home base, the church. Kids used to call it hallelujah, break my chops. No, kids used to call me a hallelujah, break my chops. My mom was in there every night, banging on the tambourine with the rest of them. Sometimes they get a special reverendo who really turned them on. That's when the believers, feligreses, would start hopping and jumping. Then they'd be fainting on the floor, and they'd wrap them in their white sheets. I remember I didn't go for this part. I was close to my mom. It was just me and her. I was coming into my teens in the 1940s when they laid her out. When they laid her out at Gonzalez's funeral home on 109th Street, looked like she was into one of her faints, like she'd be all right. Wasn't like that. I ain't saying my way would have been any different if she'd been around. That's all you hear in the joint. Oh man, I didn't have a chance. Bullshit. I was already a mean little fucker while my mom was alive. But I always respected women because of her. Anyway, the court put me on this job. The court put me on to this job uncle who come out of nowhere up in the Bronx. I got promoted from the basement to the sub-basement. No good. I cut out, back down to Harlem, sleeping on the roof, staying with friends. Then the juvenile people put me in the Heckscher home near 104th Street. But I was always taking off on them. I was still in my teens. World War II was over, but there was warring in the streets. Kitty gangs was going strong. The Puerto Ricans was boxed in. Irish on the South. The Puerto Ricans. One moment. That's annoying. Oh, stop. Jesus, Lord. That's so annoying. The Puerto Ricans was boxed in. Irish on the south, Italians to the east, blacks to the north and west. Wasn't none of that brotherhood jive in them days. Get that Puerto Rican! We was catching hell. The crazy part is me coming up rumbling against these groups as a kid. It should end up that the only two cats that was ever in my corner was Earl Bassey, a black dude. I obviously gotta wait. Wow, shut up. That's so annoying. I promise you it's annoying. Oh, shut up. I gotta wait till that's over. And it gets closer and closer. That's just beautifully annoying. The crazy part is me coming up, rumbling against these groups as a kid. It should end up that the only two cats that was ever in my corner was Earl Bassey, a black dude, and Rocco Fabrizi, a Wayo. Unbelievable. But I'm jumping ahead. Let me tell you about them rumbles. Oh my goodness. It's as noisy as it is in the daytime. Man, listen. Let me tell you about them rumbles. The WAP said no spics could go east of Park Avenue. But there was only one swimming pool, and that was the Jefferson on 112th off of on 112th Street off of the East River. Like, man, you had to wade through Park, Lexington, 3rd, 2nd, 1st, Park, Lexington, 3rd, 2nd, 1st, Pleasant, wall-to-wall guineas. The older guys be standing around in front of the stoop. The older guys be... Fuck, I knew it. The older guys be standing around in front of the stoops and stores, evil-eyeing us, everybody in his undershirt. The kids will be up on the roof with the garbage cans and in the basements with the bats and bicycle chains. Mostly busted heads, black eyes in those days. First into the street was always me. Loved to swing out. That's when I first saw Rocco Fabrizi. He was running with a WAP gang, the Red Wings. One day, we went down to the pool with about 20 or 30 PR guys. One day, we went down to the pool with about 20 or 30 PR guys. A hell of a rumble. And right up front is this guy Rocco swinging a stickball bat. Another train. So annoying. Stuck in my mind. Tough kid. We took a beating. Their turf. Too many guys. A while later, we get the word that this Rocco is sneaking up on a roof with a Latin chick named Carmen, fine head, near Madison Avenue and 107th Street. The balls. He caught some beating, but he stood up. The Lopez brothers wanted to throw him off the roof, but I said enough. He remembered. The spooks said no Ricans could go west 5th Avenue, so if they caught you in Central Park, shame on you. The Copians, the Socialists, the Bachelors, the Comanches, all bad motherfuckers. They were the gangs that started using hardware. Then the rumbles got mean. Like if the Copians caught you, you knew they were going to stick you. Then the zip guns came out. Metal tubes with door latches as firing pins set off by rubber bands. If the pin hit the 22 on the primer and the piece was held close to your head, you were in trouble. Lucky for a lot of diddy boppers, it wasn't often. I once got caught by the Copians in Central Park by the lake near 106th Street. Me and this black kid ducked it out after he said, "Let me hold a quarter." I said, Let your mammy hold it. We got it on. Let your mammy hold it. We got it on. I was kicking him on the ground when his boys arrived on bikes. When his boys arrived on bikes, my blood was up. I said, I'll take any one of you motherfuckers. No, motherfucker, we're gonna kill your ass. And they started pulling the rubber bands on the zip guns. So like I quit the scene, they chased me all the way to 110th Street. That was the last chase on me like that. I always carried a piece from then on. I wasn't about to take no shit. You step up, I'm gonna knock you down. Summers were hotter in them days. No air conditioning. The asphalt could burn your sneakers. Took the bus up to High Bridge Pool in Washington Heights. The Irish jumped us in the locker room. We fought with the metal baskets. Know what the pool guard said? You don't belong up here. No sooner we was on the bus back, we had to bail out of the windows. We had to bail out the windows onto Amsterdam Avenue. A mob of micks was coming through the door after. A mob of micks was coming through the door after us. That same summer, I got hit in the head with a roller skate by some spade in Central Park by the boats near 110th Street. Another time, I got my neck all scraped up from a bicycle chain some Italian wrapped around me. Darius Ledbetter, I see you. Salute. We caught it from everybody. Don't get me wrong. We gave good as we got. But you remember your own lumps better. We was trying to melt into the pot, but they wouldn't even let us in the swimming pool. Hijos de puta. Regardless, I was never a race man. Us PRs are like that. Maybe because we come in so many shades. We always had a stray wop or Jew boy and plenty of spades with our gangs. Anyway, I figured them beatings get you ready for later on when you gotta get the money. But the clubs wasn't always fighting. There was a lot of stickball playing. We had the Devils, the CBCs, the Home Reliefers, dig it, the Turbans, that's the way they spelt it, the Viceroys, the Zeniths, the Falcons, the Tropical Gents, the Royal Knights, the Boca Chica. These all claim to be SAC, Social and Athletic Club. Ha! Pimpin' was popular. Tony Navarro, the Cruz brothers, Bobby Roldan, all had whores. We looked up to these guys. Big cars, always a ringside table at the Palladium, always clean. None of that zoot suit shit. Wingtip shoes, conservative cut clothes. Imagine looking up to a pimp. Later on, we wouldn't let one of them scumbag motherfuckers stand near us at the bar. About that time, motherfucker came into style. It came down from Black Harlem in a game called The Dozens. Two cats would meet up on the street and start playing the dozens. One guy would say, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Wait. One guy would say, ashes to ashes, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Your mother has a pussy like a Greyhound bus. And the other guy came back with, the dozens ain't my game, but the way I fuck your mother is a goddamn shame. Rough on the mothers. From then on, everything was motherfucker. Mostly, We stood around corners on Madison Avenue, just like Middletown, USA. The schools, Patrick Henry, Cooper, forget about it. No YMCA, no boys club, no gym, raunchy houses, scummy streets. If you incline to plead cop, them streets contributed to the delinquency of a whole lot of minors. But who wants to hear that shit? Only plea I ever copped cost me 3 years in the slams. A man got to stand up, take a shot, like when the junk started arriving around this time. And where did the wops first arrive at? Right on old 107th Street between Lenox and 3rd. A punk-ass kid I was, but I looked it over. I'm gonna ride the horse, or the horse gonna ride me. I'm gonna ride the horse, or the horse gonna ride me. That was the question on a lot of them corners, because the junk was still a new scene in the 40s. Train. All the losers went for the spike and the dynamite high behind it. Only a skag high ain't but good the first few times out. Then you hooked. All they gotta do is reel you in by the crotch now and squeeze till you cough up another $5 for the bag. I seen the horse play with them junkies like a cat with a rubber mouse. Age 14, I saw that. I said, them's the humped. I'm going with the humpers. The dealers had the pussy, the clothes, and the cars. That's what I wanted, in that order. The dope fiends had the swords, the scabs, the ODs. Maybe that's what they wanted. Must be crazy. Couldn't see it then. Can't see it now. I was thinking myself, among other things, half a pug in them days. I didn't really know the science of the game, but I was heavy-handed with a lot of snap in my shoulder. So when I tagged the stud, he was hurting. So now, I'm gonna go in the gloves. This must have been around 48 or 49. With a little training, everybody said Carlito was a natural. I was going to fight for the Police Athletic League. Ha! And who was that man there? Moran of the 23rd Precinct. My sworn enemy. What? This motherfucking troublemaker on my squad? So I end up fighting unattached. My training was drinking wine and smoking pot. One time I ran around the 106th Street Lake in the park, finished up puffing on a joint. Some program for a contender. And regardless, I kicked some ass down in Sunnydale and Ridgewood, including a bad spook from the Salem Crescent AC. But then they busted my jaw in a street fight on 105th Street, and I had to drop out of the tournament. What a laugh on Moran if I had gone all the way to Chicago. Him with his squad breaking their ass, running around the reservoir every day. Anyway, I'm too good looking to be a pug. I'm gonna be a pimp. I'm running around with these fly broads from 111th Street and Fifth Avenue. From 111th Street and Fifth Avenue. That's where all the whores were tricking in them days. Whores galores. But I could take a knock around broad, but so long. I didn't go for that scene too tough. Pimp got to hate women. That sure wasn't me. There was some nice chicks around, but their mothers wouldn't let them out the house. Especially with delinquentes like me waiting on the stoop. Them was not free sex days. Leave it to me to come up at the wrong time. The good girls held on to their cherry, and it was a big deal. If a broad dropped her drawers, right away she lost a rating, even to the scrounge who copped them. I ain't gonna marry no broad while I lost a cherry. I used to get laid in Central Park, but you had to have a long switchblade ready, 'cause always some degenerate motherfucker would be sneaking up on you and your girl from behind the bushes. I didn't mind a guy ice skating or peeping. I used to do it myself. But these perverts who want to gangbang your broad. I chased more than one around that park all night. I chased more than one around that park at night. One guy tried to hit me with a wooden keep off the grass sign, which he pulled out the ground while he was running from my sticker. He missed. I didn't. Many a piece I missed out on getting interrupted by this element. I was a big pussy hound. Ain't changed much either. Was a big movie fan too. Knockaround kids was always in the movie house. No TV in them days. The Fox Star on 107th Street and Lexington Avenue was our show. There was some bad guinea racketeers in there. You had to go with a gang, 'cause if the wops caught you alone on the balcony, you was a flying Puerto Rican. I remember once they had a singing contest on the stage on a Saturday. They was giving $10 to the winner. I was there with a whole mob of guys smoking pot in the balcony. I ran up on stage and sang "Bear Me a Best Du Sean," which I sang as "My Dear Mr. Shane." I couldn't sing worth a damn, but you rated on applause, and my people made the most racket. I won. Then I did Playmate and the dirty version of La Cucaracha, which was my best number. They couldn't get me off that stage. I was into being a musician too. This was 'cause I noticed they were getting all the fine women. Some ugly clown be shaking maracas or a cowbell in front of a band, and all the chippies be saying, "Oh, he's showbiz." Jive ass bitches. Showbiz is the guy giving enemas to the elephants in the circus. Anyway, I got me a big conga drum out of the pawn shop, and I thought I was Chano Pozo. The great Cuban conga player used to work the skins for Dizzy Gillespie. Chano was the greatest. Bad too. Big stud. Used to be the strong arm for the politicals. In Havana. Came to Harlem, was bad there too. Somebody forgot how bad and blew him away. But he had some tough hands while he was around. My hands couldn't keep no beat. I was not about to be no great conguero. So be it. I'll get me that trim some other way. Used to play at block parties. Everybody in Harlem be there, dancing, drinking, smoking, and fighting. Had one on 107th Street. Copians or dragons came around, forget who. Anyway, they started shooting pistols. My friend Tato, Carlito, they got me! Fell on his back under the lamppost. Coño, Tato, he's dead. No way. Cap hit him on his belt buckle. Didn't have a scratch, just like in the movies. After that, I used to throw myself on the ground. Tato, they got me. I was a big ball breaker as a kid. But don't get me wrong, I used to do a lot of good things too. Although, later on, they never showed up in any of my probation reports. Like, God forbid somebody abuse a buddy of mine. I traveled for blocks to Duke with a cat that would try to gorilla a friend. I tangled ass with Sabu from 104th Street and Flash from 110th Street. Bad motherfuckers in the first degree, and it wasn't even my beef. This ain't with you, Carlito. Never mind, take to the street. That's the kind of guy I was. But sometimes could backfire on you, like my man Polito. Went up to 113th Street to straighten the kid out for somebody. Polito was a regular little buzzsaw. He said, shit, I'll tear him up. Polito say that spook kid liked to bust him every way but loose. Later on, he found out the kid was Sandy Sadler. One time, I had to rumble a deaf-mute guy on me like white on rice. Couldn't get off on this guy. Whipped me. I had respect for the handicap after that. A lot of Hollywood names in Harlem at the time. We had Tarzans and Sabus and Cheyennes. I remember a guy who used to call himself Nyoka, like from Pago Pago, like from Pago Pago. We had Cochise and we had Apache. Sometimes a name could cause a problem, like Cheyenne from the Bronx, who come down with 10 or 12 guys to see Cheyenne from Harlem. Who said your name was Cheyenne? Not me. My name is Jacinto Quiñones. I seen that one. Then you had a pimp. Then you had a pimp name of Red Conk on account of he conked his head red. Hair was straight in them days, one way or the other. Dixie Peach or Sulfur 8. We had a white guy named Negro, and we had a black guy named Indio. We had a lot of Louis. Louis the Jew, crazy Jew, got killed in a stick-up, spoke better Spanish than me. Louis Lump Lump had a funny-shaped head. Train. Just 1 second. Louis Lump had a funny-shaped head. Louis Push used to run fast. We had Tobacco, Chuleta, Machete, Frankie La Cagona, Frankie the Shitter. How'd I exist on the street? sometimes legit, like delivery boy on a nice truck or a grocery or a dry cleaners, but mostly hustling, thieving, breaking entry, shooting pool was my main stick. I used to catch merchant marines for $150 playing nine-ball. This was what this when I was 14 or 15 years old. Always had good wrists. Then there was boosting in department stores. And there was dice, cards, writing numbers, single action for Jackie Cooperman, one of the few Jew bookies left around. We had a little scare with Jakey once. No, Jakey, there we go. For Jakey Cooperman, one of the few Jew bookies left around. We had a little scare with Jakey once. Jakey used to book out of a candy store on 108th Street and Fifth Avenue. He was a degenerate gambler himself. Me and some other kids were hanging around one night. This big black car pulled up with 4 rays of sunshine. Older wops from the East 107th Street mob out of the Fox Star. 2 stayed in the car. 2 came into the candy store. Skinny guy, Nino, he had half a button. Cool head, he talked to you. The other guy, Buck, was a terror. Looked like a buffalo, only bigger, and he used to carry a softball bat. Was the bouncer at the Fox Star. God forbid he should catch you sneaking in the side door. Buck stands by the door. Nina walks up to the counter and pulls an empty bag out of his coat. The 2 of them was wearing black coats and black hats with the brim turned up. Hello, Rilex. Rilex 8109. Salute to you. Welcome aboard. Buck stands by the door. Nino walks up to the counter and pulls an empty bag out of his coat. The 2 of them was wearing black coats. And black hats with the brim turned up. Wops got this Al Capone shit down to a science. Anyway, the bag was a cement bag. Nino gives the bag to Mo, owner of the store. This is for Jakey. Mo shit a milkshake right there. Then Nino turned to me and the rest of the kids. Anybody here seen Jakey around? No, not us. Never happened. They split. We were shook up. Seems Jakey was into the Shylocks for 50 thou. The wop said he ran away to the coast on them. Wait. I knew it. The wop said he ran away to the coast on them, but Jake himself would have given you 500 to 1. He was planning on Long Island. Wops was already leery about going up to Black Harlem, not Buck, really Bukia. He'd jump out of a car on 116th Street and Lenox Avenue, bat in hand. Come here. Spook would run, one shot, lay him out. Buck didn't give a fuck. He went up in the mob later on, stayed mean. There were other guys like Buck around. Abusadores, we called them, abusers or ball breakers. Uptown Harlem had one named Jenks, or Jinx. Bad nigga. Big. Didn't fit through no door, except sideways. Take everybody off. Take your money, your welfare check, your watch, your dope. Take a wheelchair. Glass eye. Mean. When he was out of jail, people stayed home. Jinx had a pretty long run. Then he tried to run a game on a friend of mine. Shakedown. So much per week, 'cause I'm bad. My buddy was hard-nosed, so he had to deal with Jinx. Shot him in the legs. Kept coming. Shot him in the legs. Kept coming. Shot him in the chest. Kept coming. Finally stopped Jinx with a bullet through his head. All this time, Jinx was chasing him. Come on, let me finish this. God damn. God, Lord. Wow. All this time, Jinx was chasing him around the bar. My friend had to do time for this. Judge said, victim was unarmed. That motherfucker was armed when he was unarmed. When he was unarmed. Some judges will say, why didn't you go to the police? The fucking police only want to know you as one of two D's. The deceased or the defendant. In between, don't bother me. I got a lot of paperwork. If the judge took time to check out a victim like Jinx, he'd give the defendant the Distinguished Bronze Cross, first degree. And if His Honor had to live in the same tenement with a Jinx or a Buck, he put the same contract out. He put the same contract out himself. Buck and Jinx, some neighbors we had. Another source of livelihood for me was a first-class Murphy game I used to run up on 111th Street with the tricks looking for whores. Me and my partner, Colorado, used pencil and paper. That would impress the Johns. Okay, write it down, Chico? These two gentlemen, $10 apiece. That's $20. No rough stuff or fancy fucking. Boys, Lolita is only 16 and just starting out. I'll hold the money. Colorado would go upstairs, then he called down. Lolita wants to see the money and the list first, Pancho. Wait right here, boys. She's very shy. I'll call you from upstairs. You could come back in an hour. You could come back an hour later and they'll still be waiting with their heart on. Lolita. I'll call you from upstairs. You could come back an hour later and they still be waiting with their heart on. Lolita, Lolita. They'd be yodeling in the canyon. Sometimes me and Colorado would fall down on the roof from laughing. Them roofs were busy for us. Flying pigeons, flying kites, flying dope. Somebody was always jumping off the roof too. Usually some Rican who couldn't cut it on the street. But the street got him anyway, unless he jumped in the backyard. Anyway, I was a little... Anyway, I was a busy little snot in them days. Sometimes Moran, the cop, would get a bug up his ass and grab me or Colorado on the street and put us back in the home. Maybe a kick in the ass and a few smacks in the face from a telephone booth. Maybe a kick in the ass and a few smacks in the face from a telephone book in the 23rd precinct before he took us over. He wanted me to go over to another precinct to break chops. I said I was a citizen of this precinct. I said I was a citizen of this precinct, and he couldn't deport me. To this day, I don't pick up a phone that I don't say Moran of the 23rd precinct. I used to do it, then figuring the phones in the pool room or the bar was tapped and Moran's name would get on some shoe fly tape. He was a tough son of a bitch. One night, one of them traveling carnivals came to their lot on 108th Street and Madison Avenue. This guy, Lucky, ran out of luck in a fight with some marine tiger who cut him to pieces with a butcher knife. I remember him on his back, on the ground, trying to kick up at the guy. He never made it to the emergency table at the Flower Hospital. Moran was there with some photographers from Life magazine, and he got a write-up with pictures and all. Lucky was a sharp dresser, used to be in the furnished rooms on 107th Street between Park and Madison. He didn't come out too good in the pictures, though. Moran, believing his own publicity, became a worse ball buster than ever. Another ball buster cop was Schuler, known as Cara de Palo, Woodface. He was a fat guy with glasses, but he could move, especially the time they threw the garbage can off the roof at him. They threw a garbage can off the roof at, especially the time they threw the garbage can off the roof at him. I knew I was hearing it. Damn, these some long. All right, let's see what it is. Baddest of the bad was Big Jeff from the Mutt and Jeff detective team from the 23rd. One was a little wop, Little Jeff. The other a Big Mick, Big Jeff. You couldn't call either one Mutt or they break. You couldn't call either one Mutt or they break your ass. When they pull up to the pool room on 106th Street in Madison, everybody start walking. Nearly everybody. Legend says that one time they wanted everybody lined up against the wall in the pool room. All you Puerto Ricans up against the wall. This smart guy wouldn't get up. Me no Puerto Rican, me Cuban. Whap! Same shit. None of that. Move along, boys. Jive in them days. Little Jeff gave you sass. Little Jeff give you sass. Big Jeff look around like he ain't even listening. But if you gave back lip, whap! Big Jeff laid you out. I ain't seen nobody in the ring or out hit harder than him. Elbow close to body. Leverage, lights out. Better you fell off a roof than he should land on you. Better you fell off a roof than he should land on you. Big Jeff finally got put out of commission by a little PR named of Augie Robles. Robles was a contract killer, one of the few we had around here. I mean, this dude would travel to other states on hits. Around Harlem, he'd feed off the policy bankers. Around Harlem, he'd feed off the policy bankers. Like, you know me, Augie Robles. You got 1,000 from me by Saturday, okay? Everybody was scared of him. Big Jeff and Augie finally got around to it on 112th Street. There must have been 10,000 people watching that shootout. Like that, just like in Scarface. Big Jeff, as usual, was the first bull through that door. Imagine Augie Robles cornered with 4, count 'em, 4 pistols waiting on you. Shit. The bulls killed Augie that night. The bulls killed Augie that night, but not before Big Jeff got his knee blown up with Dum Dum. But not before Big Jeff got his knee blown up with Dum Dum. They tried. Big Jeff got his bleed. The bulls killed Augie that night, but not before Big Jeff got his knee blown up with Dum Dum. They tried to do this gunfight in the Jive movie. Madigan. But Jeff make Madigan look like a faggot. He was bad, but he wasn't no flake artist. He let me walk away from one that wasn't... You fucking kidding me? He let me walk away from one that wasn't my doing, even though he could have laid it on me. Bulls ain't never been my bag, but here's to you anyway, Big Jeff. You done the right thing. The Ricans had some other hairy guys. Was a guy, Cabezon, sat down in the barber chair at Lino's on 107th Street off Madison. Lino, cut my hair short today. Tonight, I'm gonna settle with a guy. No telling where I'm going afterward. That's cold. He goaded too. Electric chair. There was a guy, Johnny Lata, had his face cut by a rival pimp, Tony Navarro. Lata kept a straight razor in the pan filled with onions and water so that when he got his revenge, the scar on Tony's face would never heal. Lata did cut a forget-me-not on Tony's face, but the onion bit never checked out because Tony's liver gave out from too much coke not long after. Tony had his stable of 4, the best-looking whores in Harlem, a German war bride. Tony had in his stable of 4 the best-looking whore in Harlem, a German war bride. When that phenomenal used to walk down the street, I used to lay right down on the pavement. V Gates, Fräulein. But I was too broke to hit on her. When I think of all them fine women, I didn't get nothing off. Years later, after Tony died, I went to a party at Birdland, and there she was with the spook band leader, one of the biggest in the country. Being broke was never no fun. Being broke never was no fun. I'll be dead or in jail, but I ain't ever gonna be broke. believe that. That's all I was ever interested in, making $1 without hurting nobody. By my lights, I was nasty or no troublemaker like the motherfuckers around there. I wasn't nasty or no troublemaker like the motherfuckers around there. Them guys was just burning up inside. The streets was battery acid to them. But the streets never whipped me that bad. But the streets never whipped me that bad. I always saw the signs leading out. They was always painted green. Right this way, Mr. Brigante. That guy, Lino, the barber, used to worry about me. He was from the same mountain town in PR as my mom's. They're gonna kill you on the street, Carlito. They're gonna lay you out in Gonzalez funeral home before you're 21. He wanted me to go to school like this guy on the block, Wilfredo. Imagine, a grown man still going to school, never learning nothing out of no book. Keep your eyes and ears open. Maybe read the daily news to know what's going on. To know who's getting locked up. If the smarts are there, you'll be all right. If they ain't, you can read books from shit to Shinnecock. And you can read books from shit to Shinnecock. Ain't gonna help. Lino was an okay guy. Used to bring me baby roots when I was in the home. He beat me to Gonzalez. Here's to you, Lino. You done the best you could. In the matters of race, the Puerto Ricans was ahead of their time in the 40s. We accepted everybody. Nobody accepted us. Since black was not a style in them days, us PRs declared ourselves white. We had a few variations, but that didn't bother us none. The Cubans say, el que no la tiene del Congo, la tiene del Caravali. Myself, I didn't go for colored guys. But what about colored gals? This country can't do without them fine women. No kind of way. This country can make all them cars, toasters, ice boxes, going to the moon. Meanwhile, it's still hung up on the rates. It's still hung up on the race Watsies. Bunch of bullshit. If the rest of the country had listened to us, it wouldn't be in the mess it is. Bunch of bullshit. If the rest of the country had listened to us, it wouldn't be in the mess it is in now. It wouldn't be the Yo! If the rest of the country had listened to us, it wouldn't be in the mess it is now. You take me, for instance. I've been light enough to sit in the front of a Jim Crow bus, but dark enough to be worried about it. I've been taken for a spook, wop, and one faggot used to come to the door jay naked when I was delivering clothes for a cleaner. Said I was an Armenian. You better off having a little bit of everything. That way, you are what you have to be whenever you got to be. But who gives a shit? The main thing is to be good looking, so the broads will go for you. Ricardo Mortaman, I ain't, but many a kitty has gone for me, even when I didn't have big bread behind me. Believe that. It is true, I spend all my time pursuing good trim and, thank God, have a good rap. It is also true, I have had knocked out looking broads, tremendos pollos. White, black, tan, green, and in between. Never had no Chinese broad though. In other words, I have done all right with the fair sex. In other words, I have done all right with the fair sex. Oh my God gracious. In other words, I have done all right in that. In other words, I have done all right with the fair sex. I got no squawks in that department. Fact is, I got no beef about my first 20 years. Had me a hell of a time, warts and all. The street, warts and all, the street was my playground. Couldn't ground me down, Not the bulls, not the thugs, not the landlords, not the welfare, not nobody. I ran all over them. Fact is, when I was in the ghetto, I didn't even know I was there. I didn't even know how deprived I was, or that I was one of the downtrodden. It was news to me when the social workers told me about it. I was happy as a pig in shit. I would say by and large, and mainly Carlos Brigante, mainly known as Carlito, had a good time as a kid. The next 20 years is more tricky. In other words, in the 1950s, I was mostly a criminal. I have to admit that. And I did a lot of time for it too. But then Earl Bassey wised me up, and Rocco Fabrizi gave me a break into the heavy wood. So like the 60s was big time for me. And I was less into being a thug and more like a class guy. But I'm running ahead again. Okay, the end of the 40s saw me into the slams at Elmira Reception Center. Elmira Reception Center, Elmira, New York. Thereafter known as the L, first whiff of country air. Alma mater for many a mope, majoring in thievery, roguery, lechery, and mopery. 36-month bid I did. I had been on probation for sticking the guy who busted my jaw with brass knuckles made out of ash can handles. Probation don't mean I didn't have a few things going. Burglaries, cars, shit like that. So like I'm shooting dice on 105th Street off Madison Avenue on a Saturday afternoon when this badass named Chago grabs all the money on the ground and says, "Those dice are loaded. You guys are robbing me. I'm taking the money." And he pulls out the difference, size 38. So I said, "Motherfucker, you ain't going nowhere with my bread. I'll kill you, Carlito. Kill me, hijo de puta, kill me." Everything is real quiet now, except for Chago's breathing. He ain't got no heart. I grabbed the piece, bust him in the face with it. He falls down some basement steps, and I grab a Incredible with the noise. I grab the piece, bust him in the face with it. He falls down some basement steps, and I grab a garbage can full of ashes and throw it on him. That night, I'm shooting nine ball in Ramon's parlor on 106th Street and Madison when Mutt and Jeff from the 2-3 squad came in. Chago's over there at Flower Hospital. He's asking for you, Carlito. Chago who? What right you smack right off my ear? Okay, let's go see him. No lineup, no reading of rights. They even gave me an admission. Times were rough. Judge put me away, felonious assault, violation of probation. For Chago, they should have given me a medal. In the joint, 36 months. Up there, I met a lot of the boys, including Rocco Fabrizi, who was up for stealing cars. He was tight with Earl Bassey. Earl was up there for dealing in pot. I've been hearing about him on the street in Harlem. He was the ward counselor of some clique uptown on Lenox Avenue. Earl was around our age, but he was slick beyond his years. He could see something coming around the corner, like he'd say, so-and-so is a faggot. And there would be this big stud with tattoos and muscles blowing everybody in the joint. He knew things. I can't explain it. He never went to school, but he could read people in minutes. His skin was black, but his eyes were like yellow. And when he put them on you, everything was cool, like calm. Nothing went down without discussing it with Earl. Even the hacks would check out a beef with Earl. Me and him got real tight when I started boxing again. Even in the street, when I was smoking pot and drinking wine, my hands were quick and my wine wouldn't quit. Like, I'd get inside a cat and hook to the body. I'd catch a few or be pushed off, but I'd get back inside. I'm swinging without stop. Most guys couldn't stay with me. Earl had fought pro in the ring. He was my trainer, taught me how to hook to the head, how to finish a cat when you hurt him. I took a few guys out and my rep was made. Like Earl used to say, don't mess with Hoppy. Don't mess with Hoppy. Being Earl was smarter than me. I'd listen to him. He'd come on with, look here, Holmes, you got to dig yourself. You're gonna be on the street soon. Forget about that okey doke shit. Gorillaing people. Robbing pads. The shit is on, Briss. I got the word from Rocco. The junk is already here. And we is in. You think some Guinea is going up to 125th and Lenox to deal with the niggas, or to 111th and 5th to deal with the spics? They're gonna need distributors with brains and with heart. Stand up, motherfuckers. I don't know about you, but I'm declaring myself in. These wops don't fuck around, bro. You got to play with their rules. Your word is your life. They make a meet, be there. This Mickey Mouse job with the pussy and the coke and the booze don't mean nothing. Got to be cool, stay clean. Make the move a few times a year, that's it. After a while, I'll have my own crew. Then I'ma make my own world. I ain't gonna be a nigga all my life, pushing wooden Cadillacs on 37th Street. Not Mrs. Bassey's boy. I'm going all the way, Jack. They got to kill me. You feel me, Jack? Kill me. What about me, Earl? What about me? You gonna be my man with the Ricans, Chappie. They ain't nothing but niggas turned inside out. Rocco was from another garage, but a boss type. Tall, lean, with light hair. He didn't look like no odd Italian to me. And he didn't give you the wise guy jive. He was mobbed up with the Pleasant Avenue outfit, but his uncle was a made guy, a lieutenant with the Mulberry Street crew, a heavy hitter. So like you knew that Rocco was marked. He couldn't miss. He was a down cat and he was connected. Rocco didn't talk with no dead sit. Rocco didn't talk with no D's and do's. He spoke nice and soft, like dignity, but he wasn't no punk. Word was he had already iced some greaseball in the Bronx whose bail had dropped too low. The only thing wrong with Rocco was his love life. He had this thing for a PR chick, which in those days was unheard of. So, like his uncle kept him in the boondocks, but I knew he'd work it out. Like I say, he was a natural boss type. The three of us used to pal out. They'd rap and I'd listen. Earl, I'm out of the doghouse, so I'll be moving downtown. You know where to reach me. I'm not promising you guys anything, but if I get a shot, then I'm dealing you in. We may connect once in a year or even 5 years. In the meantime, I don't even know if you guys are alive. We meet, we deal, goodbye. Now I'm not talking Harlem shit. I'm talking kilos, up to $10 a kilo. On my K, you're gonna get stuff on consignment at the beginning. You cross me, I'm dead because I'm responsible for you. But you know, you go right behind me. I'm moving up. You guys can move with me or stay in the shit house, hustling quarters. I'm your man, Rocco. Deal me in, Rocco. It's hard to explain, but when you're doing time with a man, you can read him faster than when you're on the street. He can't hide behind his rep or his clothes. Shit like that don't work inside. Inside, all you got is mostly yourself. Like Earl used to say, your whole and your soul is buck naked in the joint. So that's how you come 3 cats from different alleys, got close and stayed close for 20 years. This time was ripe, was overdue. But that don't mean nothing if the right people ain't on the scene. Me and Earl was the right people, and we was ready. We needed a break. Rocco had the inside rail from before. What with his uncle, Dominic Koza, who was a boss. But he saw their thing had to open up, or it was gonna bust open. So he brought us in out of the rain. He didn't do it overnight, especially for me. I was still a cowboy for years yet. But he knew I would stand up. And later than sooner, he would cut me loose into the big bucks. Earl first, then me. Rocco was the icebreaker, and he done the right thing. And it took balls, because there was a fool wops that couldn't. And it took balls, because there was a fool wops that couldn't see it, put grits, rice, and beans in the pasta. Prejudiced old fucks like Rocco's boss, Pete Amadeo, maldita sea su madre, who thought they could sit inside the one tent with a whole bunch of Indians like me and Earl running around outside bare ass in the cold. Not to forget the hole the feds was digging under the floor. sick. Some of them guys are sick too. You take Amadeo, aka PDA. One night at the Copa, this is when Tom Jones was at his peak. All the wise guys and dolls was jammed in place. All the wise guys and dolls was jammed in. Place was hysteria. Broads throwing their keys, their drawers even, at Jones. P says to this button guy with him, "He's a fucking nigger. All this noise over a fucking nigger." "No, Pete, you got it wrong. He's English." "I say he's a fucking nigger, all right?" Yeah, you're right, Pete. Look at the way he dances." We split from the L in the order we came in. First Rocco, then Earl, then me. I hit Harlem like Sonny hit Floyd. Folks, I'm going to pause for the cause right here. But tune in a couple of days from today, and I'll be back with this Carlito's Way. Big up Edwin Torres. Big up to you for coming through. And with all those things being said, ladies and gentlemen, I'll see you soon. Stay sexy. It becomes you. Peace.